This is the concierge, sir.
And we're back, everybody. Welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm Brian, your host. And after a couple weeks on vacation, not going to lie, sorry, guys, we're back. So for those of you that just started following us, welcome. But I was on vacation for a couple weeks, or a week, and I ended up going to the Kentucky Derby in Kentucky at Churchill Downs. So I did that for a little while. I'll have a sort of recap episode of what that was like. But overall, awesome time away. The Kentucky Derby is great, especially for like fashion and like horses. It's definitely a unique experience all in itself. For me, going to a state I've never been to and experiencing all the farms, all the horses, all the bourbon, I really, really enjoyed it. So we'll have that on a different episode, but let's kick off EDC weekend here in Las Vegas. So I did have a couple people ask if I would be able to do an EDC episode. For those of you unaware, EDC is the Electric Daisy Carnival, and it is a huge event that we put on every year here in Las Vegas. That doesn't always, go to everybody, but it's a very interesting event, and I think this will be a helpful episode for people who are coming to the event, and also maybe this will be a good episode for those of you coming to Las Vegas this weekend or during EDC week in the future, just so you can be aware of what to expect on this particular weekend, because there are some pros, some cons, and some stuff in between. So this is the EDC episode of Concierge Confidential. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and dive into it. So EDC weekend is this week. It is I'm recording this on May 13th, so this will be on the weekend, so it's like 16, 17, 18, and it is certainly the biggest event in town. Whenever it comes to town, it really takes over the city for the most part, even though it's not really in the city. It actually takes place at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it is just all the scaffolding in all of the West Coast and all the fireworks and all the lights and all the rigging comes to Las Vegas in this gigantic, neon sky. And it's quite cool. I mean, it's really, really cool. It's honestly for a very specific sect of people who really enjoy electric dance music and even popular music. You get a lot of people that come there that like more mainstream electric music. And I do think that we kind of hit the peak at a time that I was in Las Vegas for this stuff. So I was going to nightclubs. The nightclubs were very competitive because they were all separate, entities. Like you had XS and the Wynn had their own nightlife. So it was Wynn Nightlife. Then you had Hakkasan Group, which was its own thing. And then you also had Tao Group, which was separate. And they were all sort of vying for all the best DJs, and they were very, 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 very competitive with each other. And it felt like, this one is over this one, and they were always trying to outdo each other. And they would steal all the DJs, which was really fun. Like it was the big thing when I was, concierging was that deadmau5 and I think Marshmello and maybe one other DJ were at Wynn Nightlife, which was like XS and Surrender and all those places, Encore Beach. And then the Palms opened up with Chaos. Oh my God, short-lived Chaos, which overpaid all of their talent to jump ship from Wynn Nightlife and go over to Chaos and be sort of like the mainstays there. And they were just super expensive, and they just couldn't recoup all the money that they were spending for Chaos. And honestly, the nightclub and the day club as well, really bankrupted the whole hotel. The hotel was trying to rebrand, and it just really couldn't afford it. And really just from the nightlife part of it, nightlife aspect of it, bankrupted the company that owned the Palms at the time, had to shut Chaos down, and then had to sell off the Palms to a California tribe. and now Chaos is no more. And all those DJs went back to their nightclubs, which is kind of funny. A lot of them went back to Win Nightlife because that's the way that it works here. We want everybody's talent. So very, very messy. But with that being said, I went when it was a super fun time to go to EDC. It was, I think, when they actually changed the dates, which was cool for me because when I went, it was not super, super hot. The whole thing was that it used to be a little bit deeper in the summer. It used to be more, I believe, in June, but because of like all the heat stuff and like, you know, people getting overheated and dehydrated, they moved it into May where the weather is a little bit more accommodating. So anyways, what is EDC? How do you get there? So EDC itself takes place at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It takes over 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is all after 5 o'clock. So these will always be in the evening. This is a nighttime event, not during the daytime, even though it goes into the very early mornings. So EDC does usually have a strip hotel that is sort of like its home base for a lot of like the EDC week stuff, a lot of the stuff where you can go get any credentials, or if you have any issues with your tickets, the places that you'd go are this particular hotel. This year's hotel is quite interesting because it is not one that is infrastructurally made for a large event. Like over 300,000 people end up going to EDC, just so you have an idea of like the figures. And the hotel last year made perfect sense. It actually was a very large property on the north end of the strip. A lot of space, which is really what you want for a place that's going to transport a lot of people, like that's going to have a lot of shuttle buses. And it was Resorts World. Resorts World was a huge space. They're not really taking on like a lot of new clients because like that hotel is a mess right now. I went the other day. It was about a month ago, so other day is not a very good way to put it. But I went about a month ago, to have a salad in their food court. And it's pretty known, like when you go to their food court during the middle of the day, during the week, a lot of their vendors are closed. Like their fish and chips place is closed, their burger place is closed, their fish, I think I said fish and chips already. Like they have like 4 or 5 restaurants that just are not open. But usually the ones that are open are the barbecue restaurant, the clay pot restaurant, the sushi, and the salad bar. And the salad bar, not open. Actually, none of the restaurants are open there. It was wild. So Resorts World in a load of mess. But this year, they're having the EDC Hotel at the Virgin Hotel off the strip, which everybody, just so you know, does not tick any boxes of being a good hotel for an event of this size. It is not on the strip. You actually have to go off of the strip to find it. It is not in it's not in a very well placed transportation hub because it's actually in a very tight corner that has a one-way at some point. So you have to be coming through the right direction to actually get into the hotel. If you think about the shuttles that have to park there, they have to actually go back towards the strip and then find their way to the Flamingo. There's really only one outlet from Virgin, is you have to go back onto Flamingo, back towards Las Vegas Boulevard, down one of the tightest roads on the strip, which is Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard. I don't even try to go there. And then get onto the freeway that will get you to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So I'm actually I was looking at the website for the first time just to get sort of acclimated to what's happening this year. And when I saw that, and as I'm talking through it, it's going to be an absolute train wreck. And oh my goodness, like I'm just thinking about like if you wanted to get sort of like to the backside of hotels, this is also screwing you up because you have to go down Harmon or down Paradise to get there, and oh my goodness, it's just in the way. So honestly, whoever bid this, good for you that you got it at Virgin, but terrible. This is going to be a terrible time for, let's get to our first topic, traffic. If you are coming to Las Vegas during EDC, the number one most inconvenient thing for you, and again, we say it all the time, will be traffic. Usually it's hyperbole because it's only for a certain amount of time. Like if you're going to a Raiders game, it's only for like around the freeway, around Allegiant Stadium, around, 2-3 hours before game time and an hour or two after game time. No. EDC is an all-night event where the shuttles are running constantly. Usually the shuttles start about 4 o'clock, usually 3:30, 4 o'clock, getting people to the Motor Speedway. I think even like as early as 2:00 in the afternoon they do it, because the gates open at 5. So the gates open at 5 on Friday, 7:00 for the rest of the days, and so on and so forth. But these are shuttles that are running all night long, so this is not going to stop at a certain time. And because of how EDC is laid out, they have many, many stages at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They have like over 11 stages. They might even have more, where everybody goes. So this is a huge space that accommodates a large group of people, and it goes all night long, and everybody has different sort of set times that they have to go to. It's sort of like a Coachella, but one where you have mini stages and you have the big stage and so on and so forth. So it is certainly an event that does clog up traffic on the I-15 going north. Going south is usually not a problem, but I did just find out, because my mom sent me over something from the news, because she, follows it, is that on the south end of the strip on the 215, we're going to have construction, where they're actually going to shut down the underpass, essentially, to work on the bridges. So that will not be fun. So essentially, if you're coming to Vegas and you're trying to drive on the I-15, towards the afternoon time, good luck. It is going to be an absolute nightmare trying to get anywhere up and down the I-15 on the weekend. So what I would recommend is that once you get to your hotel on the strip, is to stay there. At least stay on the Las Vegas Strip. It's going to be normal strip traffic, but it's when you get on the freeways where it's going to really just become a headache trying to maneuver anywhere in the city. Another thing that you should be prepared for is if you are going to be walking around with like any kids or anything, especially when it gets to the afternoon, people do shed a lot of clothing for EDC. This is an electronic dance festival, so you tend to get very revealing outfits. It's very fun for people who like to people watch, or maybe not, just depending on your age and your sensibilities. I've seen girls walk by with just pasties on. I've seen girls walk by with one pieces on. It's a whole thing. You're gonna get a lot of like fuzzy boots. You get a lot of things like people wearing like headpieces, crazy hats. Usually it's girls, but like dudes wear it's a standard outfit, like a tank top, shorts, and like sneakers, and like you're good to go. But people do go all out. People have usually very large groups that they travel with for EDC. Another thing that sort of alleviates the last couple years is that you can now camp at EDC. So hopefully that helps with the traffic situation. But you tend to find a lot of people staying at the host hotel, especially if it's their first time. They're not aware of the other properties, but usually you're going to find a lot of these people like eating breakfast. They might eat in like the food court, unless you get some of the more seasoned veterans, and also ones that have more means will eat at the restaurants you might be eating at, which would be, you usually won't find them at like a Gordon Ramsay, essentially. Like you won't find them at like your steakhouses and stuff, because again, steakhouses open in the afternoon or in the evening, and they are actually getting ready to go out around those times as well. So, or sleeping. That's another thing. A lot late risers, just because this event usually goes until 5:30 in the morning. So yeah, I didn't stay till that late. Just full disclosure, when we went, I've gone twice, and they were both on Sundays, which historically are not the busiest days because everybody is too tired from Friday and Saturday. But we got invited by one of our VIP hosts. They came by, let us go to EDC on those days. And the first time I didn't know this, but the second time we actually got VIP tickets, which you are actually able to go into a separate part of like the event, and they have cleaner bathrooms. They have way better vendors. It is much, much cleaner. It's not as busy. And it was awesome. I do not care if I ever went back to EDC. I would only do the VIP option. I would never do GA. Which GA tickets, like if you bought like at the jump, were around $300, $350. People sell their GA tickets, depending on what day it is, as resale tickets as high as like $600 or $700, sometimes $1,000, which is wild. I don't know of anybody who'd pay. I know people who'd pay $1,000, but they wouldn't because they're locals and they can do better deals. But that's that. So again, this is an expensive event for a lot of people, so they tend not to, spend a lot of money during their time on the strip. But that doesn't mean you guys can't. And the cool thing is, especially for those of you who might want to do a nightclub, you might say, oh my goodness, EDC is a horrible time to try to go to the nightclubs in Las Vegas because it's all going to be all these people trying to go to these clubs and they're just going to like pack them. It's going to be crazy busy. I don't want to go. This is actually one of the best times of the year to try to hit a nightclub in Las Vegas because everybody who would typically go to one of the nightclubs here are at EDC. So you actually get a little less people. You still get to see a lot of these DJs because let's just use Diplo as an example. Diplo is a mainstay of EDC. He is not there every day. He typically has one day that he has to go for. He's usually on the main stage or so on and so forth. And let's just say it's Saturday. So he won't be there Friday and he won't be there Sunday, but he will be in town. And he typically will be playing probably at XS on Friday and Sunday. It's very, very normal. I actually kind of funny. I saw, who did I see? I saw Martin Garrix. At EDC, which was really cool. And then I saw him 2 days later on Tuesday at Omnia, which was really fun to see, like that there was a little bit of a difference of the vibe of the nightclub. But it was like, yeah, it's Tuesday, so we do. And I actually had to like tell myself, it's like, this is a thing that, you know, people from like Iowa, we pick on you a lot, don't have every day. So you can understand why EDC is a big deal for some people. It's sort of like for those of you that like, you know, let's just say George Strait. You may be able to listen to George Strait at all the bars, wherever it is in Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Nashville, all the time. And these places are built for you. Well, that's sort of how it is for people who like EDC across the country. They may not have nightclubs or events like this, and this is sort of their big one event. So you kind of just try to understand that and sort of be cognizant of them. Again, if they're rude to you, then be rude back. But typically, everything about EDC is about love and peace and like harmony. So people are usually pretty chill. Although sometimes it can get aggressive because they also drink alcohol and like it happens. And then, you know, people do drugs too. I think it's a very like, you know, very negative connotation with EDC is that everybody is on drugs. I'm not gonna lie. People are doing drugs. Like it's a thing. Not saying that I condone it or anything, but like it's there in the world. And they usually are like doing it like at the event, which is you're not supposed to. It's not like drugs are running rampant at EDC. At least they are illegal, and you can't take them in. That's a disclaimer. You cannot take them in. But I had a friend who went in, and he like, you know, smuggled them in some way. And I was like, wow. But it's a thing that people do. So, I mean, they usually do it at EDC. So hopefully they're not doing it like when you're at your hotel. So you don't have to deal with that. So it's nice. Another thing, usually, like I said, going back to it, like if you're trying to make reservations for dinner and stuff, don't feel downhearted that it's sort of a busy weekend because it like on the surface looks like it. These people don't really go to like regular sit down dinners because of how the times work, but just be cognizant of when you book your dinner to either book it in your hotel where you can walk or very close by where you can walk, because if you are trying to drive anywhere around, you know, 5 to 9 o'clock, it's going to be very, very busy, especially depending on where the areas are. So just again, be cognizant of where you're making reservations for. We don't shut down any of our shows. So all of our shows are still running, like Absinthe and Michael Jackson 1, all those good shows. So that's the cool part about sort of this event being sort of a satellite deal that doesn't really affect a lot of stuff. Because sometimes when we have the National Finals Rodeo, we do have a lot of our shows take breaks, and they come in with like their own country shows around that time. Let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into like logistics for those of you wondering if you are coming for EDC, where you're going. So essentially, if you need a box office or will call area, the World Market Center, which has become a very, very important space for EDC in the past couple of years, is located towards the north end of, I mean, not really the Strip, but closer to Fremont Street. It's not at Fremont Street. It's in its own space. So if you ever took like an Uber there, you're taking it to the World Market Center. That's also one of the shuttles picks up. You can no longer purchase shuttle tickets, at least on the official website. So just keep that in mind when you are looking through the website. Another really important thing to note, just for our purposes, is the shuttle situation. So the shuttles, which I'm gonna go ahead and pull them up as soon as I can. Boop, 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 boop. Shuttles. So the shuttles, if you go on their website, which is lasvegas.electricdaisycarnival.com, they have all of their shuttle services. By the way, guys, $320 for shuttles. Wild. And they also have peak and non-peak. I think that's interesting. Unique. Premier shuttles, that's cool. But anyways, so they have major areas where they pick up from. Let's go ahead and look at the map. So the map itself is actually one of the hardest maps to ever read in my entire life. So the thing is that they clearly mark World Market Center, pretty easy. The Rio, also very easy, but again, off the strip, really difficult to have to get to that. So probably take an Uber or a Lyft to get there, or a taxi. Do not walk. It is a very long walk. If you would like to walk, good for you. Get your cardio in. Hopefully it's not too hot. You do have to cross a freeway if you're going from the Las Vegas Strip. They also have the Strat, which again, north end of the Strip, like almost the extreme north. It's pretty far. And then we have what's called Mid-Strip. Mid-Strip is a really funny way of naming this because we don't have anything in town called Mid-Strip. That is a location which could be anything from the Cosmopolitan all the way to like the other end of Caesar's Palace, which that would encapsulate like 5 or 6 hotels. That would encapsulate like Cosmo, Paris, Bellagio, Planet Hollywood, the Horseshoe, the Cromwell, and Caesar's Palace. That's 7 hotels. So I went ahead and typed in the address for you, looked it up on Google Maps. If you're looking for the Mid-Strip pickup, the Mid-Strip pickup, which on this handy-dandy map is number 4 and number 9, is the Horseshoe Hotel. It is the Horseshoe, which is right in front. It's essentially along the road of Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard. The pickup itself, which will be clearly marked. Like it'll have a lot of, there's usually, well, the good thing about these events, there's lots of signage, but this is actually along Flamingo. So they're going to have a bus depot where you pick up from. I'm assuming they're going to go wrap around to the back. They should have more shuttles that will get you on those big giant shuttle buses to get you on the I-15. Just check here. Man, this really is tough, man. If you're staying at like MGM Grand, you still have to get like all the way to the Horseshoe, which is still all trek. Back when I used to do my thing, we used to have multiple pickups on the Strip. Like you could be picked up from the Mandalay Bay. You could get picked up from the MGM Grand. Another one was the Horseshoe or Bally's at the time. The Link, which is big, where the big Ferris wheel was. So many more shuttles to pick up from. So I don't know what happened here, but this is their situation. Also, there's like an opening ceremonies thing, which I think is interesting, and it's from 4 to 6:30 on Friday only. But again, all these things are sold out on their website. But it's good to know just for navigating, where to go. Also, make sure you check this. They have their EDC week, which also has things that are happening on the Las Vegas Strip, mostly at nightclubs. So usually they have a lot of participating nightclubs that, assist with a lot of these things. So for example, let's just look on Wednesday because that's the day that this will come out. This is kind of cool because it kind of gives you the nightclub list of who will be performing at what nightclubs. So just as an example, on Wednesday, May 14th, the day that this comes out, Chris Lorenzo is at Marquee Day Club. Then you have Alice in Wonderland at Zouk, which is at the Resorts World. And then you have Beltran, which is at Marquee, and that's at the nighttime. And then Mao P. So whoever those guys are. I do know who Alice in Wonderland is, though. I'm not that old, so good for me. But once you start getting to the weekend is when you get all the big ones. You get Chris Lake. Ugh, he sucks so bad. Dioro, I've seen him. He's pretty good. Porter Robinson, I think I've actually never seen Porter Robinson. But they're going to have a lot of people. They have all these night swims. It's crazy. Daylight. Oh, my God, that place is still open. I never thought I'd be so old when I read these. I'd be like, oh, my God, I'm old. But they do have a lot of people. All the nightclubs will be open on Thursday because that's sort of like the pregame before the big game. My tip for a lot of the, EDCers is just be cognizant of other people that are out there. I know covering up is sort of like a silly thing. I know it's not like, it's kind of like the lame thing. But just know that you are walking through casinos. You do have some people that have families. And again, you're here for you. I totally get it. But, if you're going to have pasties on, try to have, maybe like a tiny jacket or a fashionable jacket. You're already coming to Vegas, so like maybe not have one. But just something to put it over while you're walking through casinos. Also, a lot of hotels will require you to have a cover up if it is a super revealing outfit. Or you just have to walk really, really fast before they stop you. But again, those are just important things to note when you are coming through the hotels, is that they do have somewhat of a policy on dress code, which is like, don't be naked, essentially. It's pretty much it. I think I kind of got it. Yeah. My EDC experience, two separate experiences, where one time I was waiting for friends. I got off at like 6 o'clock and I was ready to go. I was ready to leave and go to EDC. But I had friends who didn't get off until like 8:30. They didn't come out to where I was going to pick them up from until like 9. And oh my God, the traffic is so long. Like, because the thing is that you go down I-15 and then you have to get off at a certain exit, but then there's a certain point where you're driving, and you're like telling yourself, this is crazy that people have problems getting to EDC. And then you find out that you have to make a left on a road that only has a single turn lane, and then from then on, it is a single file line all the way to the Motor Speedway. And then if you miss your exit and you don't have a cool, like, traffic guy, you have to go all the way back around again. But we had a really cool guy that helped us out, let us do a U-turn, and we're able to find parking. So that was fantastic. And that was before you could camp, which was a really huge deal. But then you go down into the tunnel after you get checked for all of your drugs and all this other good stuff. Then you go down into the tunnel and then you pop back up on the other side. And then there it is, this big, beautiful space that is, this neon wonderland that is EDC. If you are a big timer, and it's always kind of fun to see like that you are not that level yet, is when you have the helicopters, which another thing, for those of you looking to do the Vegas nighttime tours in Las Vegas from Maverick Helicopter Tours, they do not do them during EDC because they are super busy. Also, that goes for any of the sunset tours as well. They are super busy doing EDC pickups and drop-offs, where they're actually picking people up from the Las Vegas airport, sometimes the North Las Vegas airport, but most of the time it is from the Las Vegas International Airport, and flying them to EDC. That is the big boy, big time way of doing it, which I want to say, how much did it cost? I think it costs maybe $1,000 or $1,500 round trip to use the helicopter, which is honestly the coolest way to see EDC from the air because you get all the lights shining up. Really cool. So yeah, I've never done that, but I've had friends who've done that, and it's cool. So that's how I'd want to go in. Sick. But EDC itself, really fun weekend, really crazy outfits. No, it is actually very difficult to get tickets for EDC, especially if you don't already know somebody who's going. A lot of times, this is what you could do is, a lot of times people will go, Friday and Saturday and not want to go Sunday. So if you are in town till Monday or Tuesday, if you find somebody that maybe doesn't want to use their ticket, you can reach out to them or ask. Look on all of your social medias, because you'll be on social media one day and say, oh, this person's trying to sell all their tickets. I'll take them, because they're usually individual. They scan them and it's a whole thing. It's a wristband system, so it's sort of physical. You have to have them, but it is doable. So check those third-party sites, but just do not be fooled. You do have to have a wristband. That is a thing. A wristband is what you need to get around in the inside. So they do have a physical ticket, but that wristband is important because it sort of serves as both. So keep that in mind. But with that being said, EDC is very fun. You'll find a lot of different events going on, but usually it's centered around any of the nightlife in town or the day life. So usually look at all the pool parties, look at all the nightclubs. They're not as hard to get into, especially this weekend, because a lot of people will be at the event. Those will be people, so don't be too freaked out. But for those of you coming to Vegas who think EDC is like the devil and that's going to take over your whole vacation, the most inconvenient thing that's going to happen is that it will probably stack up more traffic in town than you'd like. But for a lot of your restaurants, your shows, a lot of that stuff will not be affected by the EDCers. So, again, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I'll probably come out with a Kentucky Derby recap episode where I tell you about all my travels and sort of the things that I found different in Kentucky. I drank so much bourbon that I was actually kind of tired of drinking bourbon, which is usually a good thing. So that's good. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to me. Really appreciate it. Follow me on all my socials, Brian Ortega _26 or Concierge Confidential _LV for all my Vegas content and things going on in my life. So thanks again, everybody. If you see me on town, feel free to come up and say hello. But remember, keep it confidential.